Welcome to this tutorial on how to create graphs using Excel 2010. So from our experiment in Lab 10, we collected data results from our predator-prey coevolution simulation. In this simulation, we used 3 different kinds of prey materials, bean 1, bean 2, bean 3, 3 different kinds of beans, and we used different utensils, forks, knives, or spoons as our predator species. So in this graph we're going to create a line graph that shows how the predator-prey coevolution simulation illustrated the change in the number of either prey items, bean 1, bean 2, bean 3, or the number of predators, forks, knives, or spoons, how those numbers changed over time from the first generation, second generation, to third generation. So here in the upper left-hand corner, we have some sample data results. So let's say for the first chart that we create, let's just concentrate on the different prey items. So let's go ahead and highlight with your mouse the first 4 columns down through bean 3. So this is the data that we're going to examine first. So after you've highlighted the data, click the Insert tab, and then here under Charts there are several different kinds of charts that we can choose from. In this case, we would like you to create line graphs because they can show more explicitly how the different prey items can separate or diverge over time. So let's click line, and just a regular 2D chart is just fine. So once we click that, we can see that the chart has been created. It just automatically inserts into Excel. You can see in the legend we have bean 1, bean 2, and bean 3. At the bottom in the x-axis you can see the data points for the first generation, the second generation, or the third generation. And on the left hand side are the bean counts. So let's go ahead and label some of these chart aspects so we can make a little bit more sense of this data. So if you go up to Chart Tools, it's highlighted in green. We were looking at design. Go ahead and click the Layout tab, and that opens up a lot of other possibilities. So let's go ahead and add a chart title. We'll just add that above the chart. We're going to call this Prey. So now we have a chart title. On the x-axis, I don't know that we need much more explanation other than first generation, second generation, or third generation. But just for clarity's sake, let's go ahead and label this axis time, because really that's what we're looking at, is the change in prey over time. Now on the y-axis, remember these are the counts or the number of prey. So let's add axis title, primary vertical, and I like to have a horizontal title. I don't like my titles running vertically or rotated. It just makes it more difficult to read. So let's add a horizontal title. We'll just say number of prey. Now, I think this graph looks pretty nice so far, but let's add one more thing. I want to add the data labels. I actually want to see these numbers on the chart because it can add a little more clarity to what we're looking at. So let's go ahead, click on Data Labels. I'd like to display the data labels above the data points. Let's just put those right there. Okay, that looks pretty good. Now as you're creating a chart, if you notice that something isn't where it should be, like let's say the data for bean 1 here doesn't look quite right, and you think it should actually be the data for bean 2, what you can do is click on the line and it will highlight over here in the left where it got that data from. So if for some reason you're looking at your chart and you think, you know, this just doesn't make sense, go ahead and click on that data line and it will highlight in the table where it got those numbers from. Okay, let's do it one more time. So we've created our chart for prey. Let's just move this over to the side. Whoops, undo that. Let's go ahead and move this chart over, and then we'll go back here. Alright, so let's do the same thing again. Let's create a chart for the change in the number of predators in our simulation over time. So once again, highlight the data in the Excel chart, go to the top, tab, Insert. We want to create a line chart, 2D, and there we go. It automatically inserts the chart into the Excel spreadsheet. We'll just make it a little bit bigger. Alright, let's go ahead and go to Layout, Chart Title. We'll add our chart title. We'll just call it Predator. Okay, let's go ahead again and look at the x-axis, the axis titles, horizontal axis, title below axis, so let's call that time on the x-axis again. Okay, so now that we've created our graph, let's go ahead and look at the y-axis. Now, in this case, Excel will automatically insert numbers to make sense of the data that you have. So in this case, it's made the y-axis count in half numbers. Now this doesn't actually make sense with what we've done. You wouldn't have 3.5 predators. You would only have whole numbers. So let's go in and edit the y-axis. So all you have to do is put your mouse over the y-axis, right click, and it'll pull up a new menu. And let's format the axis. And now a new window opens with axis options. So you can add a minimum and a maximum. So minimum is 0. Let's put a maximum at 5. Major unit, let's have that be fixed at 1. There. Now you can see that the x-axis has changed and now we only see hash marks in whole numbers. So let's go ahead, go back up to the top, Chart Tools, Layout. Let's go ahead and enter a title for the x-axis, or the y-axis, excuse me. Call that number of predators. Great. So once again, let's go ahead and label these data points. As I click through each line, you can see it highlight in the table where that data came from. So let's go up to Data Labels. I like them centered and above. So if you just saw, I had the red line highlighted when I clicked Data Labels. So then it only highlighted that line, but I actually do want all of the lines highlighted. So in order to fix that, you just click out of the line, click back on the chart, go to Data Labels above, and then it'll insert the labels for all of the data. Well, I hope this helps you create your charts for Lab 10, how populations differ. Part 2, if you have any questions, feel free to let me know. Thanks again for watching.